Joining me now on the Knicks Film School podcast, I can't tell you how special this is for me because as a lifelong Knicks fan, there are certain players who come through your life that you get to watch that you say, you know, we shouldn't have let him get away. And we're going to talk about perhaps some of the people that we have to blame for letting this one get away.
Oh, man.
Listen, man, we got to get into it. He was only here for 2 years. It was far too little amount of time. An NBA champion. Welcome to the show, Channing Frye. Hello, sir.
Appreciate you. And before we even get into that, I was a rookie and literally got traded for who I think is a Hall of Famer, one of my favorite players to play against, Zach Randolph, super big time all-star, one of the hardest guys to guard. Like nobody talks about him enough. So me getting traded for him was, it didn't work out for the Knicks, but I feel like that's a damn good trade if you look back on it. Young Channing Frye for prime Zach Randolph is kind of crazy.
When he was in his work zone, his wheelhouse, Dirk's jumper, KD's jumper. After those guys, when he put that little fadeaway on, right? He was right up there. Dude, after those. So, there's just nobody that plays like him, right? Where he's not the most athletic, crazy motor. That was the thing, was like, he wasn't buff and big and all this, but he was in crazy shape because you had to box him out every single time. Just his knack for the game was amazing. And like me being the opposite of that, right? Being 7 foot and a shooter, it was always a battle, right? And before the game, we tell the ref, don't call none of them weenie fouls. We're going to be wrestling. Let us wrestle it out, right? Don't be calling none of them weenie fouls. And let's get to bumping, So it's funny you say you were a shooter. It's crazy. I was looking back at your stats because I always remember you as the player you turned into and what you eventually became known for, which is 7-footer shot threes. You didn't hardly take any threes first couple of years of your career. I know perhaps a certain coach may have had a little bit to do with that. We'll get to him in a bit. When did you realize that the way the game is going, what I can do that few other people can do, that's really valuable? And did you ever have that sense in your mind? Like, man, if I maybe come along a few years later, when did that start to sink in? You know what's crazy? And no one's going to believe me. Isiah Thomas told me to start doing it my second year. He played me at the 4 and was like, you need to shoot these threes. And so, but the problem with that was we didn't have anybody to teach me what I was supposed to be looking at. So the difference was when I went to Portland, I was there with James Jones, who had just come from the Phoenix system. So he was teaching me what to look for, what should do, really coaching me up on that position because it is a niche position, right? Sure. Like a 7-footer bringing another 7-footer out. And then you have to be at least decently proficient on the block or get, your foot in the paint to get a paint shot on switches. And then you have to have a dynamic rolling big. And at the time, Eddie Curry didn't have the motor to roll like that all the time. He was a very, what I like to call big aircraft carrier, throw him the rock, pound it and then shoot his little right-hand hook. So Isiah wanted me to be that. I in the league wasn't ready to be, or I wasn't taught how to be that. Okay. But he had that image. And then I worked on that crazy when I was in Portland, but showed glimpses of it. And then in Phoenix, they were like, yeah, you do that 1,000 times. And they literally ingrained in me, look how good this looks, And sure enough, I don't even, do you know that you are the first 7-footer in NBA history to average a block a game and 2 made 3-pointers a game? Stop it. I don't know none of these things, man. All right, we got, this is one of 2 trivias we're going to give you. Do you know who the next guy to do it after you was? I'll give you a hint. He's still in the league. Oh, Porzingis? He was one of he did it, I believe, after the guy I'm talking about. Brooke Lopez did it. After you, dude. About a decade later. Yeah. Dude, Brooke, God. And he's I'm 7 foot legit. He got to be 7'2". He's a big man. Yeah. And the problem with trying to guard him is you have to physically be in front of Giannis to stop him. And it's hard to stop another 7-footer going downhill like a violent train and then run out to another 7'2" guy where he catches it above his shoulders. So my thing was, if I can get the ball above my shoulders, I only got to block twice. Once by Anthony Davis and once by Andre Kirilenko. Those are only two guys that ever blocked my jumper, right? And it was bouncy Anthony Davis. So I was like, you know what? It happens. Shit. It don't happen too often, but, unicorns come by. But also the Kristaps Porzingis is the name of my fantasy league, and I won last year. So that's the only reason why I made it. I made that. I don't know if I made it up, but
I may repurpose that at some point. So Phoenix eventually truly unlocked you. And then obviously, in Cleveland, those are some pretty good times as well.
Right.
Take it back a little bit. So you've talked about your rookie year. We don't need to go over all of the gory details. I'm just more curious, like, coming from Arizona, which is whatever, it's the most respected, one of the most respected programs in the country. I'm sure you were used to one thing. When did you realize that we're not in Kansas anymore? How soon did training camp? Okay.
It wasn't even maybe before training camp. And I was like, I know guys on the team that called the NBA on him. We were the first 2 days, we had 4-hour practices. We were in the gym. We watched film, right? So film, and just to give you an example of a day, was like, and I'm a vet. So now I know certain things were okay. Certain things were very much not okay. We would watch every possession of every game after the game. But like, let's say practice started at 11, or you had to be in film at 11 or 10, whatever it was.
Okay.
We wouldn't get out of film till 12:30. We'd be in film an hour and a half. Then now mind you, rookies got to be at the gym. If practice at 10, you got to be there 8:30. You lift, you do a workout. So the workouts that I was doing were based on what coach had wanted. So now we're talking about the season. What coach had said, this is what I need you to do. This is what I want you to do. So I'm working out with coaches who Big Herb Williams, who I love him to death.
We love
was
Herb
great. And some of the other guys, and I was doing what they were asking me. And then we watched film and he would tell me everything that I was doing was wrong. So like, remember my face-up jumper? And this is a true story. I remember I was fired up. We were playing Andrew Bogut because he was the number one pick. And
the 30-point game.
Right. The next practice, he told me, don't shoot any more jumpers. They're playing your jumper now. And so Steph and Jamal and all them were like, Channing, he doesn't mean that literally, but he just wants you to put it on the ground a little bit. And he must have overheard. And he goes, no, literally, if you shoot a jumper in this practice, I'm going to take you out. So David Lee hears that. So David's like, David's being a dick. So he backs up. So everyone's yelling at me. And I'm like, at Coach O, I trusted him. I trusted Coach O my whole career, and he did right by me, right? He made a promise that if I give him 110, he's going to make me the best version of myself. So I just assumed that all coaches were like that. So I'm taking what he's telling me as Larry Brown, as a Hall of Fame coach.
I was about to say, pretty good coach reputation in his own right. Yeah,
absolutely. Literally, what do you need me to do for us to be successful? Everything he told me to do, I tried to do it to the best. And it was not only never good enough, it was wrong, even though, so he'd be like, Channing, run down this way at film. Channing, that's not right. You literally just told me this. We would run a play or guard somebody. You didn't guard him right, son. You literally told me to guard him this way. I don't know where Larry Brown, like off the court, Larry was chill.
Okay.
But I have never hated basketball more than I did that one year. And you could ask Jamal Crawford, who's a hooper. You could ask Nate Robinson. You could ask, I love playing basketball. I love it. I have never hated the game. I have never dreaded going to practice. Practices were 3.5 hours, but we would never go up and down, right? We would never just scrimmage. It would be like, stop. No, we got to fix this. Stop. We got to fix that. We had the most starting lineups in the history of the NBA. Was
42.
Crazy.
I looked it up today. 42.
Crazy. We didn't know who was starting until 40 minutes of the clock. Now you have all day to prepare. How do you prepare for a game? Some games, like Maurice Taylor would start, and other games he wouldn't even play. The worst situation I've ever been in, ever.
I'm trying to imagine like just being a rookie and being thrown into that and then being expected to perform your first game. I looked it up again. I didn't remember this until I looked it up. You didn't play your first game.
Oh God, I remember that. Did we play Boston?
Yeah, overtime. I was funny. I did overtime game and yet they still lost by 14. Oh, you were sick that game. Okay.
No. I was sick in my gut.
You were sick. Oh, okay.
Sick in my gut because he's telling me training camp. I had a pretty solid training camp. I had an okay preseason. He's like, son, I really want to play you. We're going to get you out here. He's like gassing me up. Like, hey, here's where we're going to play you. Bada bing, bada boom. I'm a lottery pick. It's my first game and you DNP me. And it was like, oh, sorry. I forgot to put you in. You're like, what?
Did he actually say that?
Yes. 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 Now, if he would have been like, hey, you're a rookie. I want you to kind of get your feet wet. And this might not have been the right situation.
Sure.
That communication I could deal with as a player. But to gas me, right? I think they say gaslight me.
I think that's what they say, yeah.
Right? And then all of a sudden now I'm not playing. And I'm just like, you said you hate this guy and he playing 40 minutes. You say you don't like this guy or that I'm doing everything right and I'm still not playing. And that was quickly where it started. The communication was awful.
So you just brought up a couple of notions in how you answered the previous questions. I want to stay with this for a second because one, communication, right? Oh. Knowing that when a coach says something to you, they mean what they say.
Right.
And this other notion about and I think you've spoken about this before, specifically with Larry Brown, just knowing what the game plan is going into a night, knowing what you're expected to do and it being a repeatable thing. When it comes down to what an NBA player wants from a coach, is that pretty much the two things, or is there anything else that I'm missing here?
I think you're missing how they communicate, and can you effectively, again, this is all communication styles. How does JB Bickerstaff get the best out of those guys? Well, he says, I'm going to create an offense based on you guys, not what I know how to coach, but what is best for you guys. And I know how to coach basketball, but you guys have to make mistakes. Who starts 3 7-footers in the NBA in today's game? Who the fuck does that? Am I allowed to cuss? I cuss. It's Knicks.
You can curse as much as you want. I do it all the time.
Yeah, I forgot for us.
It is the Knicks, yes.
But who does that, right? It's not Miami has a certain thing. Miami has a certain thing because they have a system, and Spo has been there for a long time, and then they plug and play players to fit into that system, right? Same with Budenholzer in Milwaukee.
Sure.
He has a system, and you plug and play those players. Not everybody gets Giannis or Braun or Durant.
Steph in Golden State, that's a system built around him. Sure.
A system is built around Draymond Green, Steph, and Clay. And then you build, guys say, well, I could fit in here. I could fit in there. So our system wasn't even a system. We were running new plays almost weekly, daily. We had certain plays. He would change the names of them. He would do this. There was no consistency other than inconsistency. It was wild. And and Sean Elliott, hopefully he doesn't get mad that I'm telling you the story, but Sean Elliott is one of the nicest angels of a human being. U of A guy, class act. He had Larry Brown, I think, in San Antonio for a little bit. I think that's where it was.
Briefly before it was, oh my goodness, he coached at Fordham. I'm forgetting his name.
Pop,
the guy who Pop replaced, not
some Hill,
Bob
right?
Hill.
Bob Hill. I hate that I know that, but I know.
Right? Larry Brown was before Bob Hill.
Yeah. So Sean calls me because I had to call Coach O. What am I doing? And he was looking. He was like, what do you do? And he was like, Channing, this is the league. You got to find a vet to help you out. So I would talk to Malik Rose. And then Malik was like, yo, talk to Sean Elliott, your U of A guys. And Sean Elliott was like, I fucking hate him. I hate Larry Brown. I hate him. He was like, I want to punch him in his face. He was like, I have never hated basketball more than playing with Larry. He goes, you got to stick it out, be a pro as best as you can, and we're talking about Larry, but Larry, in that situation, it's a year situation because then you have Steph. Then you have Eddie Curry. Then you have Big
Jamal
Rome,
was
right?
there. Yep.
Then you have Jalen Rose. Then you have Steve Franchise. Then you have, so think about all these things. And we had Matt Barnes at the time, right? If you interview these guys and ask them their experience, nobody's like, oh, I had a good time. I like playing basketball this way. It was awful. And we were like, hey, Larry, maybe we can win if we do everything he says. Nothing was ever right. And there was no sense of loyalty. He was trying to trade everybody every single game. It was wild.
And to your credit, I looked up before, your third week in the NBA, you started a 10-game stretch where you're averaging 20 points, 5 rebounds. You were shooting it well. You followed that up with you had a couple of 30-point games. You made the all-rookie team, obviously. You had a really nice start. And then Larry goes on his merry way. In comes the man who drafted you to coach. And then things, again, like, yeah. So have you ever thought about that next season?
Yeah, I talked to Isiah. Me and Isiah are like cool. I call him all the time or text him. I have no ill will. Again, he saw what I could be. Just I was not taught that. I was taught with my back to the basket.
Sure.
Right. And realistically, people don't know this. I only played 2 years of varsity at high school. Right. And then I went to college for 4 years. So that's only 6 years of elite basketball.
Sure. Yeah.
And I've been focused on that position. And so I'm trying to navigate. I've had success being a face-up big, like your Chris Bosh, like your Zach Randolph, like your Dirks. And now you're like, hey, Channing, we need you to space away from the basket, go by the three, because we are going to give the ball to Eddie Curry every single time. I think you can look up a stat. Eddie Curry led the league in turnovers.
I think that checks out. Andrew will check that out. Yeah.
Right. And so for me, it was like, okay, I'm just standing here. I don't know what to do. They're like, Channing, do something. I'm like, I don't dribble very well. Right. Like maybe 1 or 2 dribbles. But again, I'm so locked in on that position. It was hard for me at that age to go, well, let me relearn this. Right. And again, nobody was like, Channing, when you're out here, this is what you're supposed to look for. And, I was already hearing rumblings about me getting traded. And then David Lee was like, well, I could play this position. And then there was all this stuff going on, with the team and who's this and who's that and, taking advantage of things. And I was just like, dude, I didn't know what to do. You can't have me be in an all-rookie team and be like, yeah, play this position that you've never done in your life.
What you're painting a picture is of something that Knicks fans know very well, especially older ones like myself, of just general disjointedness of one guy going in this direction, one guy going the other direction. I want to transition to more recent times, which so last year, it seemed all of that, everybody hit for 1 year at least. We got to hit the pause button on that.
Right.
You've spoken about what it is to be a dysfunctional franchise or what it was like to be in a dysfunctional franchise. When you watched last year's Knicks from afar, understanding that you never played for Thibs, like, totally. You weren't with Tom, like, what did you see from the outside looking in as like, this is a culture change. This is just a coach who has a group of guys that are buying in. Like, how did you view last year?
The beginning of the end. And that's the honest truth. I thought,
please explain. I'm curious.
Well, here's why is that when you have a desperate team, right, who really desperately wants to win, they're willing to do anything. And I felt like Julius Randle is a workhorse, right? Nobody ever questions how hard he works. But any basketball player knows you cannot have success, sustained success, playing that style of basketball. And you cannot, in this day and age, have that type of sustained intensity after achieving something that you know damn well you shouldn't have even got that far. Also, you forget there are no fans. There were no fans in the stands.
You think that made a big deal?
What? Oh my God. Stop it. Stop it. If you're out hooping, free stroking, right? And nobody booing you because you're down 4-0, you're like, all right, cool. Now you're down 4-0 and you got Spike in your ear talking about you're trash. That feels different. It is different. Also, if you notice, people get hype when they come to the Garden. That's where you make a name for yourself. So when you're the home team, you forget what it's like to be the road team and only play y'all maybe once or twice a year. So dudes put on their best outfit, right? They get the rest. They either going out to Carbones afterwards, right? Going to party with Rihanna or Miley Cyrus or whoever. So when you're at the home team, you forget about how much impact the city and the Garden has on road teams. But if you're no fans, you don't feel that. It just feels like another game. And you get used to that. I think this team this year tried to make the right moves. I thought, but they got away from what Thibs can really coach. That's not a
And what is that?
Thibs is Thibs is a great elite defensive coach. Okay. He is an elite coach when it comes to game plan, preparation, practice. But as you notice, your offense is straight garbage. It is garbage. It's literally the worst offense in the NBA.
In terms of aesthetically, certainly it is as ugly as it comes.
You guys, and I wrote this down. Lenny, get off the guitar. Look at this. So you guys are 27th in points scored. Okay. Now, you guys are trying to win. So that
trying to win basketball games, allegedly.
So that means you're the worst. You're 27th in field goal percentage. So that means you take shitty shots.
Yep.
Shitty shots. You're last in assists.
I don't know how many years we've been in the bottom of the league in assists. It's been a lot.
You're not okay. So people are going to go, well, Portland was last in assists too. They have Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, who's on a goddamn tear right now in New Orleans. So yes, stop, right? So their offense works that way. Then your best player doesn't shoot the three ball effectively. He is a throwback player and plays at the elbow, which is in this day and age, the easiest space to guard or to double team somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And shoots 42%. So he's having a bad year. So he's a volume shooter, not at a good percentage, shooting bad twos, and doesn't shoot threes, and you're 42%. Then your second best guy, which is your future, RJ Barrett, who I think is a stud, shoots almost the same bad shots. But now he
has not been efficient. No.
He's not been efficient because to me, when you look at their offense, there's no room for him to make mistakes. It's like drive to the hole, drive to the hole, drive to the hole. Somebody stops you, spin, drive to the hole. And you're like, where is the evolution of your offensive game? And in today's game, are they not developing that? Are they just being pounded? This is the only way between A and B, right? For me, I feel like in a more open offense, you could put guys in a better position to make more decisions, which could have happened earlier. Sure. Obviously, not having D Rose hurt. I thought Kemba is a great player. I thought Kemba hurts you defensively. And also, if you look stylistically, Julius is a big time, got to touch that thing. He got to touch the ball every possession. I would have weaned him off that and showed him film of the Atlanta Hawks series where he becomes disenfranchised when he gets double teams.
How hard is it to take a guy who Julius 8th in MVP voting last year, all NBA. I know you watch as much basketball as I do. He's on the commercials. He's getting the interviews, all the flowers, everything. If it's now not working like it was last year, how do you begin to communicate to that player? Like, look, or do you try to begin to communicate to that player? Like, we need to make some adjustments here. Or, you get what I'm saying?
Tried, but I think they tried. And I think here's my thing. Julius Randle did not take the max.
He did not.
He did not take the max on purpose. He knows he can't do it himself. If Julius Randle is your second or third best player, or if you can run, the first part of your offense on one side and then get him the ball going downhill, he's almost impossible to stop. It takes a lot of pressure off him to generate offense through fouls or just bowling his way in there. And then, if you think about it, when he's on the ground, teams get out and run. who you guys are like 10th in block shots because Mitchell Robinson has to be down there you have to play a traditional center because your forward is always by the rim. Right? If that makes any sense, right?
No,
Julius is driving in there and the team gets back. Who's to protect the rim? You got to get your 5-man to do that. So again, it's just offensively, if there was more movement, if there wasn't such a reliance on catch the ball, head down, wait, hold, everyone's moving, hold. Now the defense gets set. Now let me just take a shot because it's 5 on the clock. It might work better. But again, this is injuries. The personnel just didn't work out. And, offensively, it just is poo-poo.
That should be the on the gravestone of the 2021-22 New York Knicks. It should just say poo-poo.
Right.
I think a lot of fans are frustrated over the fact that exactly what you're saying, which is that there seems like, well, maybe we should switch things up, in terms of how we go about trying to generate offense. And that hasn't really come. You mentioned Kemba. Is this a team that you look at and you say like, oh, they're a point guard away, they're a floor general away, they're this way, or, I think that's what I figured you'd say, but I just wanted to ask the question.
I say like this, and I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Who do you think the Knicks are better than? And then who can they beat in a series?
Oh, yeah.
And who is available that you think can fit? I have one name and it's wild, and I'll get to it. And I was thinking about it as I was driving. I knew you were going to ask me this. So think about one player that's available that could establish culture, that could do a lot of things for everyone and make their life easier. Just don't look at that person this year. Look at that person last year or throughout his career.
You talking about Dame?
No.
Oh,
but can live in New York, and the fans will ride with him based on his style of play before this year.
You're throwing me with the before this year.
All right, I'll tell you. Russell Westbrook.
Oh my goodness. Andrew just typed it in. There you go. Russell
Westbrook would be absolutely amazing for this team. Number one, not this year, Russell, because, the shit didn't work out. We see it didn't work out.
Has not gone well. No.
Confident. Russell lives New York every single day. Where he comes to work, he has a motor next to no one else in this league. He's fearless. He's tenacious. He leaves it all out on the court when he's in the right situation. You also need shooters around him. So by putting Russell there, it makes Julius take a step back. So when Russell drives to the hoop, he creates a double team through that, kick off to Julius. Now you get him to drive or you get him easy dump offs. Also, Julius doesn't have to be your emotional leader. Russ is.
Which we've seen
Julius
not go so great.
Just play basketball, right? Julius is your Andrew Wiggins, your Harrison Barnes, your guy that you could just rely on to get you 15 and 12 and 5 or 6. And he's just going to go play. But in crunch time, give the ball to that guy. He's going to win it for you.
And you think Russ has something left in
absolutely,
as a big time player in this league?
Absolutely. I do think this situation, let's just be real. This didn't work out. But to slander Russell Westbrook entirety is wild. He can take a team of regular guys and make them an 8 seed.
Sure. Yeah.
He almost did that last year in Washington, but people forgot he barely played the first 30 games of the season. I think he tore his quad or something crazy. I don't know.
And when he did play, he didn't start to become effective until definitely the second half of last year.
Right. Totally. Sure. But he was getting triple doubles every night. And look at the Wizards this year compared to last year.
No, he was legitimately.
Bradley Beal didn't play, but
he was good at the second half of last year.
And things are popping in New York. Russ is okay with things are popping. He's not boo you back. Right? To me, it's you need somebody who embodies New York fully. Right? Do you dress New York? Do you live New York? Are you excited that they're here, or are people excited that you're here? People will get excited if Russ is there. right? I think New York fans,
if they win a little bit, I think, listen, we
saw they're going to win more than they're winning now.
Well, they can't win much less than they're winning now.
And he's going to tell Thibs, hey, man, chill out. I got this. Chill out. I got this. And he's going to generate offense himself. He won't need a set. They're going to play a natural way that lends itself to his players. I don't mind the players you have. Russell Westbrook, Evan Fournier, RJ, or you go RJ, Evan, Julius,
and pick a center, I guess.
Pick a center. Just give me somebody bouncy.
Okay.
Give me somebody bouncy who's a little smart. Who's a little smart. I need smart. Smart and bouncy is like the league's
good combo
generation. Right.
You mentioned RJ. I'd be remiss if I didn't at least ask a follow-up question about him. I think there's a sense amongst Knick fans that RJ doesn't get, the respect he deserves around the league, because when he does it, and this is my theory, and I want to test it out and you see what you think. It doesn't look as flashy or as bad as the other guys, but you look at the numbers and, he's over the last 2 months, 23, 24 a game. He's got the assists. He's got the rebounds. Do you see a guy when you see RJ, where do you see him in 2, 3, 4, 5 years?
Number one, he's a Steve Nash guy. So I know he works out. I know he's going to learn the game. I see him as a Chris Middleton type.
Okay.
Right. I think he will develop later. He's taking his lumps and, listen, nobody's going to like me saying this. If you're not a playoff team, you're free stroking after the All-Star break. Coach is like, just go out and play. There's no pressure on you to win these games. You want to win, but if you don't win, you're still planning your vacation for the summer. You're free stroking.
Stop. 1, 2, 3, Cancun.
These numbers, 1, 2, 3, Cancun. Okay, 24 left, 15 left. These numbers that guys on bad teams are putting up, please let's take it down.
Okay.
And if they could do it next year when it counts, I'll be quiet and I'll say I'm sorry. But it's almost never happened. You've never seen a guy on a bad team start balling and then the next year go, man, he had a really good end of year. You have all summer. You know how much summer they have? Jesus, right? So for me, I like RJ Barrett a lot. I like his tenacity. I like his work ethic. He got a lot of passion in there, right? He's emotionally invested in every play, and I respect the shit out of that. So I think he's a great New Yorker. I think, again, if he's your second or third guy, he's going to flourish. But this opportunity, he's going to be the number one guy-ish, is good for him later on in his career because he's going to be like, well, I can handle this situation. I've been in it. I like RJ Barrett.
I think you speak for a lot of people here. I think everybody likes RJ Barrett. I would take second best player on a title team because it means we won a title. 2 more, and then we're going to get you out of here. You've been incredibly generous with your time. One, I want to get just one general NBA question in here. It's been a kind of an interesting season. It's been a funky season. Seems like anyone could lose to anybody else on any given night. You've been in the league. You were in the league forever. Is there one team or 2 teams who you're looking at going into the playoffs and you're like, no matter come what may, I like what they have going on. I will ride with them based on one thing or another.
Milwaukee Bucks.
Okay.
If you watch, and this is what's funny, if you watch Giannis last year, or even at the end when he had 50, Giannis was having steam come out of his mouth because he was fucking people up. There was no, like he was like, listen, little boy, get out my way or I'm going to run your ass over.
Yes, he was.
If you notice this season, he picks and chooses. He's still getting 34, 12, 8, 36, 19, 2. Like, you're like, they've been first in the East, third in the East, first in the East championship. And then you look at like the development of Drew Holiday's been healthy. Right?
Sure.
Chris Middleton, I forgot who he barbecued a couple of weeks ago. They haven't had Brook Lopez. The development of their bench is better. And when I say, okay, KD is crazy. Embiid is crazy.
Yep. I
don't know if Giannis crazy can be stopped by either one of them. I'd love to see it.
Okay.
Giannis's team system, they're more embedded in that system than they were last year, which is even scarier. They have more shooting. Their defense is a little poopier this year, but it happens. I just think they're tired and they're just kind of like, fuck it. We're still second or third in the East. So who cares? Right? I mean, shit, we're top 4, so it doesn't matter.
They know they could win a big game on the road because they did it last year. So
and they go, Giannis is looking at, okay, who's going to guard me on this team? Okay, that's 2 fouls in 3 minutes. You're a big man. I'm running by you. Now that's spray open threes. You're too small. I'm posting you up and I'm dunking on you. I just think he looks at the game differently and he knows how to, I don't want to say put his cruise control on 80 instead of 100 every single night. And we see glimpses of it. But and then here's what I'll rebuttal myself on that. 50% Ben Simmons, even if he has to come off the bench a little bit to really get his legs underneath him. Listen, we see what Kyrie,
I was about to say, they on 31 shots too. 31 shots.
They're special. They're special, right? Yeah. And I love watching them play. I used to love watching Kyrie work out because I'm just like, no way is he ever going to do that in the game. Oh, here he goes. Did it in the game.
Is he the most, because like Evan Fournier tweeted out during the game last night, like he's the most skilled basketball player of all time. Is that a held opinion amongst pros?
Yeah, I think we're forgetting about a couple guys. I think Kyrie, and I'm going to say this in a weird way, but I was trying to explain to somebody, like Kyrie is like an artist, right? And I don't think he's changing how the game is looked at. Like, is he right-handed or left-handed, right? Does he have a scouting report, right? Like, what do you say? How do you guard Kyrie? If you're taller, he's going by you. If you're smaller, he's posting you up. He might be the most proficient offensive player we've seen in a very long time. I'm not going to mention other names, but Kyrie, to me, should be top 5 most proficient, skilled offensive player ever.
I like that word.
And we look at what happened when he wanted to play defense. He gonna shut the water off now. He gonna shut the water off. And everyone was like, well, what's he gonna do against this or that? And Kyrie was like, well, y'all must have forgot because I'm only playing half the games, but that means I'm twice as rested, which is another problem. So KD's going, Kyrie's going, and you give me 50% Ben Simmons, that's a matchup. I'm popcorn. But I got to roll with Giannis because they won last year, and that's the last time I bet against him. My man at 50. So,
and who knows? We might get them in a first-round matchup this year. That'd be something. Last thing before I get you out of here. You are the host of a podcast, Road Trippin with RJ and Channing, hosted by Allie Clifton. There you go. Just generally, how do you like having a pod? And I should say part of the Blue Wire podcast network. How do you like having a pod? And 2, one dream podcast guest, if you could pick.
Man, we've been doing this for a long time. I think we've been doing it for almost 7 years now, 5 to 7 years. And so, or 6 to 7. So it's just good meeting guys. Like, Tim Duncan was my idol playing, and to be able to like actually sit down and talk with him was crazy to me. I met some amazing people in this industry whose stories have been told by other people, but I like the fact that they get to tell their stories. And then one guest, I would want to get a round table.
You could do a round table. That's fine.
Clay, Steph, and Draymond in a room with Kyrie, Bron, and Richard or Kevin, and just revisit what was happening on each side.
Wow.
Right? Because we had to learn to hate. Like, Steph is a great dude. Draymond is an awesome guy. And Andre Iguodala is my teammate, so fuck him, but he's a great guy also. Right? I love that guy to death, right? But you have to learn how to hate each other to a next level to not give each other an inch. And so I would love to know what their locker room was like, how they felt compared to how we felt. And I think that people would learn we were just on both ends of the spectrum and just met in the middle. And then Kyrie went and Brown went crazy. Right? Like 41-point triple doubles in the NBA Finals is quite stupid.
I can't imagine you. There's probably not many days go by where you don't wake up and you're like, man, I was a part of that thing that happened.
Oh man, so I had the best seats in the house. Listen, and I'll let you guys go. I know you're tired of these stories.
No, please. This is great.
So like, I went out there a little bit, And I was like looking around. I was like, Hall of Famer, Hall of Famer, Hall of Famer, All-Star, Hall of Famer, Hall of Famer, All-Star, All-Star. And I was like, what the fuck am I doing out here? That's it. Yo, no, this ain't it. This ain't it. Like Eastern Conference Finals, Western Conference Finals, that's where my talent maxed out. They were moving so fast on that court that I was just like, I looked at coach like, if you need me, I'm here, but I can't. They started a lineup. It was like Sean Livingston, Andre Iguodala, Klay Thompson, Draymond, and Steph. Who am I guarding? They're all guards. They're all 6'7", except for Steph. Who am I guarding? I'm used to guarding centers. Anytime they put Bergeron in the game, hey, I would look at coach like, coach, I'm ready. Here we go. I got a center. I go in, Steve Kerr, take him right out. So then T. Lue's like, damn, I'm sorry. I was like, well, all right, take me back. And Steve wouldn't play his centers, right? He wouldn't play Bergeron, and then Bogut got hurt, right? But when you have Harrison Barnes and Sean Livingston and Andre and Draymond, like, what are you? You're crazy. It was wild to see that many ball handlers on the court running and moving and heading and screening. Like, watching that was like beautiful. It was a beautiful game. And then to watch Kyrie just go, yeah, none of you guys can guard me, but I'm just going to pick on this one so that he has to play defense. It was just
it was crazy, especially coming off the San Antonio, Miami games, which for me, that was the most beautiful basketball, my opinion, that I had ever seen up to that point. And then to get that series was just
nuts. Yeah. And Draymond was balling the last game. And then people were like, well, Bron only got 41 because Draymond was hurt. And he goes and puts another one on him, right? And then it was like, you never see Steph upset. Steph threw his mouthpiece. And then for us, we didn't have any injuries, but Kevin got concussed where we had to start Richard, which really helped us out because then we would switch 1 through 5. And then we had 5 guys who could play on like full court, like, face-to-face defense. And then we just started wrestling with them. It was, man, I get hyped talking about it, but that was just
I could tell.
Amazing. Well, it's just an amazing series for them. Like, they were so freaking good, man. It was like, you make a mistake. Shit, we're down 19. Okay. That's it for today. Like, it would happen that quick. And then when KD came, it was like, we were looking at the scout like, what are we doing? What's the game plan versus this? Oh, we're going to get MJ and Scotty to come back and play with us? All right, now we have a chance. Right? It was like, let's go double team Steph and play KD one-on-one. Oh, forgot about the guy who scored 30 in a quarter. Yeah, forget about him.
I wish. I mean, I'm glad KD got his rings, but, it would have been fun to see a team that was a fair team. Yeah,
I mean, it happens. It's good. It's one of those things. It's like, if you're a Golden State Warriors fan, you love it. And if not, you're like, yeah, fuck y'all. But if I'm a Warriors fan, I'm like, KD, come on back. Come on back. Let's win these things.
Oh, man. Channing, seriously, this is incredibly great, awesome of you. You're awesome. I traditionally ask people where they could where fans can find you and your stuff, but I think we just said the pod, and you're like Channing Frye. I mean,
I'm Channing Frye. That's it. Everywhere, Channing Frye. The only guy with Channing Frye.
Yeah. You never long live the 2005, 2006.
Oh,
That's
boy.
all I'll say.
So many stories. I can't wait to get Jamal Crawford on here, and he'll tell you some of these stories.
He'll be the next one I get on. This is great. Thanks so much, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you guys.